Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the Wnr533. It's AEW All Out 2024. I'm not alone. It's a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show, it is the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello. Here for another AEW All Out pay-per-view event. It's still on. The competition is still here in the prediction league. I'm ready to get started on this. A lot's happened in AEW. I think we're about to catch up. So, grab a drink, take a seat, and we'll catch you up.
I'm just glad you weren't on mute like you have been for the past few episodes. So well done for that, all right?
Yeah. I mean, got there.
Woo! Right, up next, our resident NXT expert, a New Japan demigod. It is Monty. Look at him swagger into the room. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. Riding high. Excited, man, to talk about AEW. Like you mentioned earlier, we got a lot to catch up on. So, yeah, I'm in a good mood. So we'll see if that carries over to the results of my predictions.
Yeah, well, usually AEW is your kryptonite, so I'm hoping today that, the Superman can be beaten, but we'll see what happens. Last but by no means least, well, every day when you're walking down the street and everybody that you meet has an original point of view, and I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. If we can learn to work and play and get along with each other. You got to listen to your heart, yeah. Listen to the beat, listen to the rhythm of the street. Open up your eyes, open up your ears. Get together and make things better by working together, everybody. It's a simple message, and it comes from the heart. Believe in this and in yourself, for that's the place to start. And I said, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. We can learn to work and play and get along with each other. And God damn if that's not the message of the WNR podcast. But hey, it's a WNR's DW. It's Gina. How's it going?
Well, hey, hello and welcome, people. Love the song. I'm going to take you karaoke one day, James.
Oh, thank you very much. I do work. And I will say, Monty, I nearly did Bluey, but there's not a lot to work with, so I'm just...
Yeah, what are you going to do? Just say everybody's name? And...
James,
Gina at the end,
Monty, Jaxie, and Gina. So,
yeah.
But it's great to have everybody on board. And like we said, we like to have a lot of fun here, and we've had a lot of new listeners recently, and just saying that they kind of like the shenanigans. But I don't want to kind of go off on a rant, even though some people do like that. You see, I've had some positive reinforcement, guys, and I just hope you can bring me down the next couple
So they
of hours,
like shouting at you. Is that it? They like hearing you be abused by Monty and the twins.
Well, in a way, but they like how I never, I always pick myself back up again. And this is a year of picking me back, so if I can say it right, up again. What a great start. Let's move on. Talk about before the pay-per-view, because we got AEW All Out 2024. But Dynamite featured one of the best things ever. After Swerve brought his childhood home, Adam Page burned that motherfucker down. As I put my teeth back in, I mean, Jaxie, what a fucking moment. Not even in this feud, but just in professional wrestling.
I mean, yeah, I think this really does solidify that Hangman has got a forever long grudge against Swerve. And he's made it his life mission to, take anything and everything he can from him. He incited war here. The promotion was really well done in terms of sort of like everything beforehand that built up to this moment of, Swerve like talking about buying his child his home for his mom and everything like that. It's such a touching moment just to come crashing down by Hangman Page. This is a complete different character to Hangman Page that we've seen in AEW, and I think it's the most aggressive we've seen him. So there's a lot of intrigue, like not only going further into this feud with Swerve, but also what's to come for after with Hangman Page, with this new character change of his. Like I feel like we're gonna just there's a lot of excitement for, you know, what could come out of this, like totally like you know, not, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but totally explosive like heel turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see where things are going to go from here.
Yeah, without a doubt. And this is what I was going to say. And again, we just mentioned it there about the character. And Monty, do you think Adam Page is the best character in AEW? You know, when you talk about the progression and what he's been through to get to this moment, it's not like he's just, you know, turned face or heel and got the reaction as such. It's a real kind of story behind everything he's done in AEW.
Yeah, man, Hangman. I think throughout this 5 years, I don't think anyone has been booked better from a storytelling standpoint, in my opinion, than Hangman Page. You know, you can probably argue maybe Moxley or maybe I think in the women's division, like Mariah is probably right there too. We mentioned how her coming in, they basically gave her a character and gave her an angle from the beginning, and she's become champion, is done, knocked out the park, and we'll see if they continue on their road with her character. I really like what she's been doing, but consistently and just like you mentioned, justifiably, and just looking at where he's going and what he's done so far in AEW, he's been by far the most interesting. I mean, even when he was in the tag team with Kenny and the whole Dark Order and the Elite thing and the falling out and the repairing of that friendship, leading like you right directly into, even with the Punk stuff, we know that kind of led into an entire chaos, but his character throughout that was really good. And I think the same thing going into the Swerve feud. So he's just had a lot of great moments throughout AEW's entire life cycle. And he's been, just like you said, the most compelling and one of the best characters, and if not the best character in AEW, he's also one of the best characters just in wrestling. One of the most interesting, and everything he does makes sense. The progression, the mustache, the unhingedness that has come into the way he looks, going like tying directly into what he's been through. It's just perfect. Everything he does so far just makes a lot of sense. And if it's anything Tony or AEW should be proud of, or something that I feel like if fans who like to get tribalistic, if you want to put something out there to really represent AEW well, I think it's been the arc of Hangman Page, because it was awesome. I mean, before, when they showed that Swerve was showing the house, and I literally tweeted out, "Hangman, you know what to do." And I did post the Randy Orton clip when Randy burnt that Bray Wyatt barn. And I didn't think about the fire thing, and I was just, but they still, even with it being predictable from a perspective, they executed it still so well, and it was such a beautiful shot in the way everything was done, that even if you want to label it predictable, it's still one of the greatest things in not only AEW history, but just in pro wrestling this year. It was awesome, man. And he's knocked it out the park.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, sipping as the fire raged behind him. And Gina, again, a lot have said it wasn't the same house, but I think what's even crazier than that is the fact that Hill Hangman has had a burning house on his Titantron for months. Talk about G-Site.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the main question for me coming out of that is Hangman going to pay the mortgage on that house that he just burnt down? Because I just paid out a fat deposit on buying this house, and I've got a mortgage settled, and you've just burnt it. So are you going to cover the mortgage? That would be my question. I'll rebuild, but you need to pay for the mortgage, bruv, because you just took that from me.
What about the arson crime we just put on national television?
That's true as well. The po-po need to be called here, guys. Arson, straight up. But I do find it interesting to see Hangman grow so unhinged the more this feud goes on. Because if you remember when the feud even started, like first started up between Hangman and Swerve, it was Swerve who you could see was becoming disheveled, if that's the right word to use here. And, you know, you could see he was losing sleep and things like that until he got that win over Hangman, you know? And it's just funny because it's like the roles have reversed and that feud is still going.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, that's the main thing about this pay-per-view. You know, it main events it as well. So we had to talk about Swerve and Page to cause that moment. But we get on with 0 Hour, which was 90 minutes. Again, Anyway, Renee and RJ and Double J, and the first 0-hour match saw Bronson and Boulder take on Max Caster and Anthony Bowens in tag team action. The Acclaim picked up the win with a mic drop. Jaxie, short and sweet, I suppose. What were your thoughts, and what would you give out of 5?
Yeah, it kind of just did what it needed to do. I didn't really pay much attention to this much because it kind of went exactly how we expected it to. So, I mean, 3 1/4.
3 1/4. Yeah, that's fine. Monty?
Yeah, I think the score is probably generous because the match, they just didn't seem to have much chemistry. But like you mentioned, we all kind of knew where this would go. And I'm tired. I'm not going to reiterate what we've been saying for months now because obviously Tony's not listening. But the Acclaim is bland, and until they do something to freshen up the whole formula or give them legitimate competition that's interesting to watch them fight, I don't think anything that the Acclaim do is going to really change with the way we feel. This was just plastered onto the pre-show. It was fine, so I gave it 3 stars. But yeah, man, everything about the Acclaim is just running to the ground at this point.
Yeah, it is true. Gina, what are your thoughts and what's your score?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same as Monty. The thing is, I do like the Acclaimed. I think they're really, really great, but not a lot of it is working for me at the moment since they dropped the titles. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.
Yeah, give it a 3. I'm gonna give it a 3 1/4 as well. Predictions: the WNR Prediction League 2024 before All Out. Bonus League: Monty on 22, Gina on 15, James on 14, and Jaxie on 9. The reason for this, and again, spoilers ahead, so if you don't want to ruin next week's episode, which will be the NXT show, but Jaxie, you actually won NXT No Mercy. Can you believe that?
Did I actually? How much did I win by? What was the score?
I think you just beat Monty by 1, but I've never been so happy about a victory from you.
Wait, what was my winning point? Like, who was my winning
Listen
point?
to next week's show, and we'll do that. But you won, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Make most of it now.
I'm definitely going to check this out because for some reason I'm only picking up wins in NXT, and losing horribly everywhere else. So I'll take that win.
Maybe stop watching wrestling. Maybe that's. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be horrible,
Shut
but
up.
like, if it works.
Shut up.
I
take
League.
Risks, okay?
You do. WWE League: Monty on 5, James on 4, Gina on 3, Jackson on 2. AEW: James and Jaxie on 3, Gina, Monty on 2. We all went the Acclaimed, so we're all on 1. Next up was a trios bout with Tony Nese, Aria Daivari, Josh Woods taking on Dustin Rhodes, Sammy Guevara, and Hologram. Rhodes got the pin for his team to score the victory. Monty, I mean, if you've been away from AEW for a while and then come back, you've been thinking you're on an acid dream or something like that watching 0 Hour.
Right, yeah. It definitely can get like that. I think the only thing I was looking forward to in this situation was to kind of see Hologram because from what I've seen of him, he usually does something impressive. But then we get the match and he really didn't do. He did more on Rampage. Did more on Rampage than he did in the pre-show match on a big show. So that lets you know kind of where I was with this one. It was what it was. It was fine, but again, nothing too interesting, nothing bad either, but just a good a match, maybe a high-end TV match if that. So yeah, man. Yeah, man, Tony Nese. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
I don't see him often, but that's about it. But yeah, man, this is cool.
WWE, wasn't he? But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Move on. Just move on. Move on.
What would you score out of 5?
Oh yeah, 3 1/4. 3 1/4.
3 1/4.
It was cool.
Gina, again, thoughts and score, please.
I don't really have any thoughts, if I'm truly honest. This match was just meh for me, so I gave it a 3.
Lush. Jaxie?
My thoughts are exactly the same as my sister. I'm going with a 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 as well. I've already said my thoughts, so nothing else to say. Predictions, we all went Dustin, so all on 2. More trios action next came when Juice Robinson and the Guns took on Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds and John Silver. Of course, the Bang Bang Gang won. Gina, we got to love these multi-man tag matches on, 0 Hour that no one cares about.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Again, for me, I I feel bad because I feel like I didn't pay too much attention to this the 0 hour, just because I just felt like the matches were made just because, and that's another reason why I've just kind of like scored this one at like 3.25, because for me this match was just because. So yeah,
I completely agree. Jaxie?
Again, I can't help but agree with all of my sister's thoughts on this. I'm going to give it a 3.25, and that's just because of seeing the Bang Bang Gang is always like quite fun and entertaining. But until they do something significant, I just felt like all these matches on 0 hour were just placed there just because. And it kind of it's not meant to actually come across as an insult, but it kind of just came across as like an episode of Rampage. So it just like it felt uncalled for. 3.25 at best, just for the entertainment factor of Juice and the Guns.
Yeah, without doubt. And again, Bang Bang Gang kind of lost a bit of luster, Monty. I don't know what you think about that. And what's your score?
Yeah, 3 overall be the score. I agree. I think maybe we just have to wait until Jay White injuries, concerns, or whatever they have going on is soft, and maybe they'll finally start to ramp it back up. They were one of the most entertaining things about AEW for a while there, and now they just kind of simmered down. But I think what I've learned is that's kind of how it works in AEW. You know, you kind of a guy. I think I watched a Scorpio Sky interview, and like Scorpio is like healthy, and he was waiting for a while just for his time to get back into it. He literally was making it like a sports reference of waiting your turn to get back into the game. So a lot of times, people that we know are talented they just have to find something for them to do, or they don't even get on the show. So it's cool to see them. I'm glad they're still booked and they're working. But like you mentioned, it's just nothing of real significance here. And I think also, if you guys have listened to the last few podcasts, what you may have picked up is we don't like a pre-show with nothing on it. Like, we don't like when they're just talking, but we also don't like when the matches that are on the pre-show are just pointless. So, we have to figure these pre-shows out.
I agree. No, Monty, I agree. Like, just to clarify, I also do not understand why you would do a pre-show without matches. But yeah, exactly like you said, give it a bit of context. Like, it just, again, I think all 3 of these matches were announced like an hour or so before the actual event itself. So it's like, if you actually just kind of like built it up, you've got all these other young women that you have 3 pre-show matches all filled with men. You could have had a female match on there. You could have built that up. It's just little things like that. If you'd have just planned it a little bit better, even with your shows of Rampage and Collision, you could have built up, or you have stuff being built up on there. You could have showcased on that pre-show, and it would have made sense. And people might have actually wanted to join, like, especially viewers maybe who are watching from TV would have joined the pre-show, and you would have gotten a bit more viewership on the pre-show because if there was context behind those matches and other people do want to watch them. But by announcing 3 like not really related matches, like really randomly put together matches an hour before the pay-per-view event, it doesn't create excitement. So just do a bit more build-up on that,
Well, the thing is, I mean, that's an excellent point. But again, don't play for the home team here. But I mean, I remember NXT being half-hour kickoffs with a match, and I'm just saying, I think that's the way I would go. But we'll see what happens.
Agreed.
We'll move on. Queen Aminata saved Sky Blue from Mariah May before the final 0 hour match, which is a triple threat trios bout with Top Flight and Andretti versus the Undisputed Kingdom versus Mortis and STP. Undisputed Kingdom won when Roderick Strong got the pin. But again, Jaxie, I mean, the match in that, but this was Mariah May's kind of first appearance on pay-per-view. It wasn't even on pay-per-view, but as like women's champion, it just felt really throwaway,
What, for her match, do you mean?
No, as in just the appearance. She didn't even have a match. She just, a confrontation.
Oh.
And
yeah.
That was it, really.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that if they were not going to be giving her a match on this pay-per-view, then I would have actually given her something to do midway through the All Out, whether or not it's her getting involved or just having some sort of promo halfway through All Out. I would have at least done that and given her some time then. It just kind of felt a bit weird to actually not showcase her on this show, though, considering she had like such an explosive like turnout with you. Like, do you know what? To be honest, like we'll talk. I think we'll probably briefly discuss this later on. But like, there was like straight away a lot of questioning of, oh, what will she do? Like, is she going to call out Mina? Will Mina be there? Where's Mina? And stuff like that. She could have actually had that big promo that she does about that later on, like halfway through All Out, just like commandeered the ring and just, done that then, or something to still make her feel quite relevant. But I felt like it was just a bit disappointing to not have her showcased predominantly as your new women's champion.
And what would you score the triple threat tag match again that we didn't really need?
Oh, I thought I already gave that. 3.
Yeah, 3 sounds good enough. Monty, what were your thoughts on the Undisputed Kingdom? And again, a bit like the Bang Bang Gang, kind of, they were waiting for a member to come back, and then they're just like, yeah, he's not coming back.
Man, my end of the year my predictions from last year be based on all the time they gave this faction. You wait till you guys hear some of those predictions, because based on what has happened with this group, just think about how prominent they were. I know a lot of people, may have forgotten just the MJF stuff and the Devil and all of that. And again, I don't know. I don't think anybody could have predicted that Adam Cole's injury would have had him out this long. But man, this, like you mentioned, they just seem like a completely different group, and they just don't feel as important. As much as I love Roderick Strong and I love the work he does, and I like the Kingdom, it's just it is what it is. We know that they're just waiting around until they decide to bring Adam Cole back, and by the time he comes back, like, who's to say that they're going to even continue this? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it implodes the week he come back or something, because it's like, what's the point? Like, they've lost so much steam at this point, and I'm not saying it's not regainable or whatever, but the Undisputed Kingdom just feels like, I mean, it was bad enough that they are already just Undisputed Era at the Kingdom, and we all know it's bad enough that. But then we had the Wardlow angle. We haven't seen him in forever, and then you had Adam Cole. It's just weird. It's very, very weird, in my opinion, how things have turned out for them, and some of it is very unfortunate. But at the same time, they won this, so I'm assuming they are still supposed to be prominent. But I think that says a lot to me about their opponents, because even if you like Action Andretti and Top Flight or Shane Taylor, I think we all know that the Undisputed Kingdom would probably get the victory just over standing overall, and that's pretty much how this match went. I still thought it was good wrestling, but like you mentioned, what reason do you really have to care about this match? I mean, I guess the Undisputed Kingdom don't work with the Beast Mordos anymore or whatever, so that's probably the only significance that we have. But other than that, 3.5 stars, I think, is probably where I give it, because it was good wrestling. But yeah, man, it's really, really crazy when you think about just how much TV time was devoted to the forming of the Undisputed Kingdom, and now here we are in September, and who cares about them?
Yeah, but it's even. I mean, you just mentioned now about Beast Mortis. Like, he came out of Roderick Strong on Collision, so again, Gina, it means like, is Mortis now like part of the Undisputed?
So I'm confused. See, it doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah, I know.
Weird.
I mean, yeah, just like you guys said, it feels weird because it's not like they've done any form of kind of initiation of Mortis to be there, but they're doing more and more tag matches with him with the Undisputed Kingdom. So it's just kind of like, okay, is he part of you or not? Because it's like, you look at Takeshita and Kyle O'Reilly, and you know that they're all part of Don Callis's group. Like, Beast Mortos, are you just getting paid by the Undisputed Kingdom to be joining them during these times, or are you actually an official member? So it is a little confusing whether he's going to be tagging with them next week or whether they're just going to completely forget about it. But yeah, like you guys said, I kind of feel like they're just kind of pushing them through where they can until Adam Cole can come back, and it's a bit sad in a way, really, because I do like Roderick Strong, but he's just not giving main character energy. He's giving NPC, Yeah.
What would you score it?
Oh, this one's a 3 as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.25. Predictions all went strong and all on 4. And we go to the main show, and All Out opened up with MJF taking on the man he injured a few months ago, Daniel Garcia. As a giant banner hung behind MJF, Garcia attacked him from behind. MJF tried to use some cheap tactics to take control, but Garcia kept taking him down because his head was bandaged, and MJF went after it like a target. And MJF won with a low blow behind the referee's back, but it was afterwards where MJF tried a cheap shot but got kicked in his tallywhacker and pole driven off the second rope. Monty, what are your thoughts on this? Because a lot of time was devoted to this opener.
Yeah, I thought the wrestling, man, was fantastic. I thought both guys really brought they brought the effort. You can see it was a very good opening match. I think, like we just mentioned, if you're like us and you weren't really invested in the 0 hour, this immediately kind of woke you up and like, okay, all right, now this is what I'm here for. And I think it was really, really good. You know, the only thing I didn't really care for was like the neck, a lot of the neck focus. But I think, you know, tombstones and all of the pile drivers from the turnbuckles and all of that, you know, you can kind of, it's always 50-50 with me with some of that stuff, you know, because I just know how prominent injuries, you know, could be. But I understood where it was coming from because this was, you know, I guess kind of like a blood feud type of deal. But, you know, again, it was really, really good. I don't want to say anything about this match was bad. I thought it was a very good opener. It was personal. Like you said, you could feel that they didn't like each other. And I think that was great. And my only other problem to me was like the way Garcia kind of lost was cheap. But, you know, at the same time, it is Max. You know, it's kind of like, what do you expect? And you can make the point that about 25 minutes is probably a little bit too long for something that was so physical. But at the same time, I thought they did a really good job. So I gave it like, let's see, 4.25. I really like the way this opened.
Yeah, and again, you're right. And we talk about Adam Page and AEW with, you know, certain wrestlers. MJF has always had this kind of presentation. And you can see, even with his entrances, they use his music well, and they kind of know. But again, just felt a little bit too long. But another thing as well, Gina, is the fact that, like, Garcia should have got this victory. Like, MJF winning kind of means nothing overall.
100%.
Yeah, he definitely should have got this victory. I think, like, he should have got the victory when he had what's the move, the Dragon Tamer, the thing that he used on Bryan Danielson,
right?
Way back when.
I don't know what he called
like
it, but yeah,
2022 or something.
Over there.
Yeah, like I feel like he should have kind of got the win round about like that point, you know. It sucks, but it kind of was standard because, you know, Max was pulling out the classic heel stuff and doing thumbs to the eyes and stuff. He also kind of took advantage because Daniel Garcia was highly emotional for this match, which is kind of rightly so because of everything that's happened between these two in the past. So he was highly emotional, and MJF took advantage. He definitely took advantage of this, got himself into trouble, and DG kind of more lost out because of his aggression towards MJF, and MJF taking advantage of that, you know. So in a way, it's kind of like standard MJF, standard heel win. But the crowd were totally into it, and some of the exchanges that they were having were so great that, and again, you just really got the sense that Daniel Garcia hates Max and his guts. So it was quite cool to see him, you know, kind of get that one up after the match, though, when like MJF, he tried to like handshake, but he already knew he wasn't trying to handshake him. He was going to try and hit him. So at least he still kind of looked good after losing, if that could make any sense at all. But yeah, it was a bit of a upsetting one for Daniel Garcia because I was hoping he'd get a win over him, and that would have elevated him a bit. But either way, still a great match. I'm going to go same with 4.25.
4.25. And again, I do like Matt Menard on commentary for Garcia's matches. I mean, he does a good job in general, but he was very emotional. And Jax, as we spoke about, Gina spoke about, you know, you can tell Garcia was upset, but him being back now, we assume he's going to have a future. So MJF may be taking time off, so we'll see what happens for them going forward, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was a lot of valid points that both Monty and my sister brought up. So I don't feel like I've got anything else to add, but I do agree with you. I really do like Matt's presence on commentary when Daniel is wrestling, especially because you get a different point of view from knowing that he trains him, he's working with him, he knows him quite well. So he also kind of talks about like Daniel's mindset going into each match and just kind of like getting a better picture as to like the idea of like his matches and his attempts and approaches towards them. But it was a great match. Again, I feel like it might have gone a bit too long for me. So, but I also agree that I felt like the wrong person won here. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4. I thought it was a good match there.
Yeah, without doubt. So out of 5, I'll give it 4.25. Predictions: who went MJF? So all on 5. And the Young Bucks versus Claudio and Wheeler Yuta for the tag titles. All 4 men putting a good effort. Best bit being Claudio's finger Matt 20 times. But in the end, the Young Bucks retained the titles with a relatively clean win. Gina, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Because for me, the booking made no sense because they are trios champions. Why the fuck would you need tag titles? But I mean, what are your thoughts on the match before we get to that?
I mean, I kind of agree with you. That was one of the things I was going to say about this match, is that it wasn't really needed to be between these two teams. You have so many tag teams on the actual like roster that you could put anyone into this tag match. And the only reason why I kind of am saying it against, the Blackpool Combat Club or Claudio and Wheeler is just the fact that like you're only using him because of obviously their trios tag pack. He is in a different match, so they couldn't do a trios tag match, I think that's the only reason. They were like, no, we want to have the whole of the BCC on the match card, so we'll just chuck them into a tag match against the Young Bucks. For me, it doesn't make sense for them to do this. Whether one of their trios people were in a different match, you should have put a different tag team into this match with the Young Bucks, because none of us really believed that they were going to win it because they've already got the trios tag belts. Why are they going to have the tag belts and the trios tag belts? I know they did this maybe with the Acclaimed, but for me, it doesn't work when you have 1 million tag teams on your roster. So yeah, it didn't make sense to me. It did hinder my thoughts on the match as well, because I just kind of had a feeling of what the outcome was going to be. And I do feel like, regardless as to how great they work together, for me, I feel like Claudio has got to be the best tag partner ever. Seriously, he's always there when he's needed, and whether it's with Wheeler, whether it's with Mox, whether it's with Danielson, like he's always on it. He's probably the best partner to be with, like for a tag match. So, but no, I thought it was a good match, and again, I do enjoy watching the Young Bucks. Like, I know that there have been some people who have been commenting saying like they're seeing too much of the Young Bucks. For me, I'm seeing too much of Chris Jericho. Okay, the Young Bucks are fine, and I'm happy to keep them going too. But yeah, for me, the match was great. It did what it needed to do, but I kind of knew what the outcome was going to be, so I wasn't all that surprised. I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Yeah, a couple of excellent points that we'll bring up. First one, well, Jaxie. I mean, do you remember FTR and the Acclaimed fighting all summer for an opportunity just to get a shot at the tag titles, and yet Claudio and you would just get given one on like a week's notice? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like it kind of makes you think, like, where did they lose, like, the story behind all of that? And again, another thing that my sister pointed out was there are plenty of members within the tag division that you could actually put in this position. You didn't really need to do that. You could have even put someone else, another tag team in this position, and actually had a trios tag match on the pre-show. At least there's a reason why it's on there. They're tag champions. Again, make it make sense. It just, I don't mind the Young Bucks. Like, it's not like I agree. I feel like I'm seeing too much Chris Jericho and stuff like that. But I don't really know if the Young Bucks really need the belts. They could do their asshole stuff without the belts, and you can still have storylines. So I just feel like, can we start promoting a tag team that might actually be worthy of taking the belts? And you actually did have this good build-up feud going on with the FTR and the Acclaim, but then it kind of sidelined, and the Acclaim got replaced by grizzled young vets. So I'm not sure where the story is going to go from there with them at the moment, and we'll obviously discuss that a bit more soon. But like, I think that like right now we don't really have a prominent tag team that are look ready enough to be able to take on this asshole elite Young Bucks. I just don't necessarily think the Young Bucks need the belts right now. I think it did what it needed to do, and yeah, I think Utah and Claudio especially just looked great in the match. But yeah, 4 overall I think is a decent score.
So Monty, the big question then, are the Bucks becoming the tag Jericho? You know, because again, even for me, it was like I could quite skip this. I could skip this match, but I don't know if they've got the turn-off ability that Jericho has got.
No, they're nowhere near that, in my opinion, because what they're doing as characters it's not as fresh as it was when they first started, but I do believe it's still way more interesting than whatever Jericho has had going on. And but I think the biggest problem AEW have, and it's just an issue with their booking and just presentation, is what you guys kind of just basically spelled it out without really saying it. But the division just sucks, and the point is right now the Young Bucks are by far the best team, and no one is on that level. Like, even if you think FTR is on that level wrestling wise, well, we've seen that already. We already mentioned earlier that everyone is kind of sick of the formula with the Acclaim. So until they come up with something fresh, we're not there. We see what Tony see. If you look at what happened after this, and we'll talk about it maybe later, but they don't view Private Party in that way. Obviously, they don't view a couple of other teams who've been around, Top Flight, some of these other groups. They don't seem to be anywhere close to where the Young Bucks are. And I think that is what's really hurting, because like we mention it all the time, James, a lot of as heels or even as babyfaces, when you're a babyface, you're only as good as your best heel tag team. And when you're a heel, you're only as good as your best babyface tag team, just in my humble opinion. And I think AEW, and I've been seeing the narrative, and we'll talk about that too, about their tag team gauntlet that they had after this, also hammering home my point. They do not have a strong tag division, and I think they even feel that way just based on matches like these. When you have trio champions having to fill in this spot, they obviously don't feel like they have another tag team right now that's far enough. I know people like to outrun us, but I don't think they feel like they're convincing enough at this point. So again, they're going to have to go back to what they were doing in those early years of AEW and really go back to building up credible tag team opponents until we finally get that team that feels like they're perfect to take the Young Bucks spot. Because just like what the old man would do in the past, he would always go back to Cena or always go back to Triple H. Tony's going to always go back to the Young Bucks and put them on top of the tag division, because they are by far, in his eyes and to a lot of people's eyes, the only prominent team that you can give that spot until the FTR refreshes or do something different. But again, we've done FTR and the Young Bucks so much. Would you guys even care if we did another angle for FTR and the Bucks? I don't think you would. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I think that's the biggest issue right now with the Bucks. And again, I agree with you guys about the match. Claudio, probably the best wrestler in this match by far. And I think, but I think everybody did good. I give it a 4. Really fun stuff. The ending was kind of anticlimactic to me, but again, I thought it was still fine. And I don't mind the Bucks as champions. I don't mind them on my TV screen, but until they get legit, credible, tag team, and it's one tag team that's rumored to be leaving that would have been perfect for this role, like the Lucha Bros was perfect. When they lost Pride and Powerful back in the day, another great perfect foil for that would have been perfect to be someone that's not FTR, really but also a threat to the Bucks. So again, you're starting to see that now. You're starting to see the holes in this division really shine.
Yeah, you're right. And again, it's not just how good the tag team is, but with wrestling, it always comes to like who's paid the most. So then you go to that person as well. And like I said, the Bucks at the moment in time, highest paid tag team. That's what it's always going to go to kind of justify that as well in a weird way. But I'm going to give it a 3 3/4. Predictions, we went Bucks all on 6, and we're going to get positivity now without a doubt, because we've got Will Ospreay versus Pac. Actually, bit of negativity first. This should have been at fucking Wembley. I mean, I know MJF's a big star, but Ospreay and Pac was just made for Wembley rather than All Out. But again, the crowd was going wild before they even made contact because this was such an anticipated encounter. They started off with a simple lock-up on a side headlock takeover. Both men hit corkscrew moonsaults one after another. Ricochet was shown watching backstage. I can't do this justice, so just go and watch the match. Hopefully, when you're listening to this, you've already seen it, because these two men are just incredible. Like I said, 2 generations of British wrestling right here. I couldn't have been prouder watching these two completely tear it up. Well, we thought it was over several times, but it's Ospreay who sealed the win with a hidden blade in a match of the year contender. Jaxie, I think I pretty covered it in a few words there, but what were your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I don't think we can actually do this match justice. Like you said, this was one of the most highly anticipated matches of the night. For me, especially, I have to strongly agree with you in the fact that, like, this really should have been at Wembley. Like, it was hot right from the get-go. There was one moment that, like, Will Ospreay, like, caught a moonsault from Pac, but, like, Pac literally just countered straight away with, like, this tornado DDT. It was, like, one of the most, like, I cannot stress how perfect a counter and the perfect moment that it was. Like, these two worked so well together. I could watch, like, a series of, like, 7 to 10 matches between these two. There was, like, a German suplex as well that happened that literally just looked so absolutely devastating. I need to see these, but, like, both of these two, like, continuously, like, just feud. Like, they are incredible together, and, like, if there's going to be any match that you guys should go back and watch, I would really suggest this one. That I just love this match from the beginning to the end of it. I couldn't take my eyes off of them. I was afraid to miss something. You know, like, they both kept countering at the perfect times for one another. Yeah, it really was. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 5, because this was one of the best matches of the night for me, and really kind of woke me up halfway through, because I kind of had dipped at this point in terms of just sort of energy when it came to sort of what to look forward to, and this really just reawakened that. You know, this was a perfect match between 2 brilliant, excellent, talented wrestlers, and I strongly suggest, if you're going to watch any match, go watch this one.
Yeah, and I think you're bang on as well, because, like I said, I was doing 0 Hour on top of this, so this was the kind of the adrenaline shot that you needed, and kind of you were just. It was unbelievable watching it. And Monty, you know, we've been doing this pod a long time and talked about great, you know, American wrestlers or Canadian or anything else. But it is great to see, like we said, British wrestling given the respect it deserves on this AEW kind of the American pay-per-view. And these two guys, this is what British wrestling is, Monty. This is what I've been trying to tell you all these years, you see. It's not just Johnny Polo and Giant Haystacks.
Sure, Johnny. Yeah.
yeah. Big Daddy. Yeah. It's not Big Daddy. Like.
Yeah, man. Dave Taylor. If not just that, you guys we can flip too, guys. No. Yeah. It was incredible stuff. 2 of the best in the world. I mean, I'm just, again, when I see people's reaction to Ospreay's matches, I'm always proud, because I just know that I was spoiled for a long time to get, and he's way better than he even was in some of those New Japan matches, but I just been watching him do this style, or a version of this style, for so long. So to watch him put the pieces together, be where he is now as a wrestler, and then do it with some of the other best wrestlers in the world, like, this match is one of those matches in my head, knowing what I know about both of them, because I think some people forget who the hell Pac is, or just
this
what
is the old Pac. Yeah, this was
just how good Pac really is. Like, Pac is unbelievable, and he's right on that same scale. Like, they had Ricochet watching. Imagine if we get like a 3-way with those 3. You know what I mean? Like, because just like people are starting to remember, or some people may not remember, but they will once him and Will fight. Also remember that Ospreay is, like, in a league of his own, but they are right there. If you really want to talk about, like, can do almost anything, Ospreay, Ricochet, Pac, those 3 guys are in that special realm of just guys that are just unbelievable and just have already done unbelievable things, but can make magic together. And I think this was just really good. Like you mentioned, it's just one of those things. It really, and when you mentioned what you said earlier, that's why I didn't want to parade my whole thing with that. But I'm definitely confused on how you play. If this makes me wonder, like, how far ahead is Ospreay stuff playing? Because as good as Max is, and as fine as we may believe the story that they were trying to tell with Ospreay and Max was, how do you not book this at Wembley? Two guys representing that country just going out and doing this, and then you book it this soon after Wembley. It's just very, very funny. But hey, I'm not it's not a big deal. I'm not mad at it. Like, we're still getting spoiled in regards to that. And also, this is one of the things. I'm not trying to, again, I don't want to do this because once Ricochet kind of explained his thought process, it makes 100% because it makes 100% sense. He said he's had a whole lot of fun over the years wrestling with a lot of the guys in AEW, and a lot of that. So basically, working with his friends, doing something he loved, is what he kind of took into why he went to AEW. And so, if that's the reason, I 100% again get it. But I think in this match, it also showed me it highlighted like, yeah, Ricochet. And every time I watch AEW, and like if you watch a week's worth of television, I'm like, yeah, Ricochet don't feel as unique as he did in WWE. Not to say that it's his fault. I'm just saying a lot of the special stuff, he could stand out on a WWE card because there wasn't many guys in the WWE roster that could do it or were doing the stuff that Ricochet was doing. But then you go to AEW, you got Ospreay, and you got Pac, and it's just like, my God, we're already so spoiled. But of course, he's only going to make it better. So I'm not trying to say he won't. I'm just saying it's very funny when I watch a match like this and I think about Ricochet being a part of this roster also. It's just like you just got some of the best athletes ever all in one roster. So it's a special stuff. This was special, and I can't wait to see more and what we do going forward. I actually don't know what else you could say. I can't say it's not 5 stars. It was one of the best matches of the year, easily.
Yeah, without doubt. And this is the thing, again, Gina, we love wrestling. We talk about it a lot, but we knew this was going to be a good match. But when it actually, goes to that level and we just like, everything seems to be perfect, as Jackson was saying. And again, Ospreay has been on a different level, but Pac stepping up and saying, no, on this night, I'm just as good as you. It is wrestling at its best,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think both Monty and Jaxie said the perfect description for this match. But like you said, it was a 5-star match. It's probably one of the best matches to come from this year. Why they didn't do this at Wembley, I'm gutted, because it would have been amazing to see this live. But regardless, I think what they both pulled out, they set a precedence, didn't they? This is the type of matches we're going to expect from both of them. And like you were saying about Ricochet, in a way, like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed MJF versus Will Ospreay, but if you're trying to think of people to keep up with Will Ospreay, even though he is in a league entirely by himself, if you ask me who can keep up with him, I would mention Pac and Ricochet, because I would see them being able to keep up with him more than, Claudio, who's not a high flyer, for example, or something like that. So, yeah, I definitely look forward. I really would love it if they did a triple threat with these three. What I would love even more is a fatal 4-way with Ray Fenix in there. And God, don't get me started on that, So there's so many more matches you can take and make just because of the match that Will and Pac put on. But honestly, great match, 5 stars.
Yeah, without a doubt, an easy 5. Predictions, we went Will, so all on 7. Willa Nightingale versus Chris Statlander next, and it took them less than 2 minutes for weapons played a part. Willow was powerbombed through an announce table to put Statlander in control for quite some time. Both competitors left it all in the ring, including some of their blood, and Statlander beat a former friend by using a chain to apply a submission. I mean, thoughts on this though, Monty, because again, light tubes, I've never seen a split into thumbtacks either. Like, they just turned it up to 11.
Yeah, man. I just want to say this: if you watch wrestling with a double standard, don't want to see women get hurt, then I feel for you, because this is unique. I still think you should just put your pride to the side and watch this match, because this is just one of the best matches I've ever seen, and not just women's matches, just matches I've ever seen. Like you mentioned, they really brought it. The only thing that kind of I could even say that I would criticize to bring is that I didn't necessarily think the feud matched just how much they beat the hell out of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't think it was that hate. Yeah, I didn't know that it was that much hate. Like if this was like a really hateful feud, kind of like what we have in the main event, then I would have definitely been. I think this would have even got more people talking. But so I think but that's not on the workers. That's on the angle. That's on the people who put this together. I think the match itself, though, my goodness, man, like just one of the best ever. And that's one thing I love about AEW's women's division. When they're allowed to go the full length and be extreme, I know some people, again, we're definitely going to be talking about people being uncomfortable later, but I know some people really don't like that. But I'm one of those guys who do not watch wrestling and think that, women shouldn't be allowed to bleed or women should be this and that. No. Like, it's wrestling. If the men are allowed to kill each other, if the women can do it safely, I'm down with that too. And I think this was incredible. Even though at one point, the table bump where it looked like Willow still oh my goodness, whoo, that one was tough. Like that was one of the damnedest spots I've ever seen in my life. And I know that didn't go as planned because no one she tried to get out the way and just still got took out. But yeah, man, it was great. It was great though, man. I really enjoyed this. Honestly, I'm just gonna go ahead and give them both 5 stars for completely different reasons. But when I was watching this, a lot of people were saying that, of course, people think Pac and Ospreay's 5 stars, but the real 5 stars is this one. I think they both deserve credit just for completely different reasons. One of them is pro wrestling and just an athletic spectacle like none other, and I thought this one was just like one of the damnedest death match or like street fight type of matches I've ever seen in my life. And I just really enjoyed it. They really brought everything out of each other. And I was happy Chris could, win too, because we mentioned it before, James, a lot of times heels don't pick up these feud defining victories. And I'm happy that they went on ahead and gave it to Chris because I felt like she was the one who has developed in this feud, and Willow will be fine. It's losing in a fucking war like that. She'll be fine.
Yeah, without doubt. Gina, a couple of excellent points Monty made there. We talk about a couple of brutal bumps. Willow getting kicked in the back of the head of the table. I think the only thing that took me off, though, was Chris asking the referee to help with the chain, because it's just like, just get it done. But again, as Monty said, it was just 2 women. And tough to follow the match it just did, and their answer to that was just violence.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing I will say is that, this is what AEW need to do more of. Build up these feuds without a title. It's like in the picture, you don't have that many titles for ladies. And this feud was one of the best feuds that we've seen go on, and it wasn't even centered or revolved around a title. They need to do more of this, given storylines where there is a title, where there isn't a title involved, and just building up feuds. And I think both Chris and Willow deserve that elevation. They've both just been so good throughout this past year on AEW TV, and I think they both highly deserved the win, because I think they're both amazing wrestlers. And like the brutality that they brought in this match was awesome. Like Monty said, if men can do it, women should be allowed to as well. And it gave me vibes back to, who was it? Was it Anna Jay and Ty Conti versus Britt and someone? I don't know. I think it was a tag match between women, and it was a street match.
It was Anna Jay and Ty versus
I think that was Willow and no, you're right. Yeah, that was the Bunny and
Penelope.
Penelope.
Yeah. Like
that's what I thought about.
Their tag match, I still remember, because I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and they got to kind of just let loose and do what they wanted to do, and be as brutal as they wanted to. And I got that same vibe from this match with Willow and Chris. So I'm happy that they gave them the time. I'm happy that they gave them this storyline to push them both through. And I don't think I would have been annoyed at either of them winning. But it was just a great match overall. And I'm going to agree with Monty, and I'm going to give the ladies a 5 star as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jack said it pretty much hit the nail on the head there. But I mean, another thing to say about Willow is if this time next year she's not AEW Women's Champion or has been, I think they've dropped the ball with her because she's got the momentum to do that.
She really does, and she has like a lot of support from the WWE, the AEW universe. Sorry, sorry, but again, I feel like it is not, kind of it's something that has been well deserved. Like her build up, her entry, and everything that she's done in AEW at the moment, her talents have really elevated it and shown, kind of what type of person she can be, what kind of champion she could be, especially with the TBS run. So, like this was a really good showcase, and I think that there was some excellent points that were brought out. These women brought their A game, and I definitely agree with sort of giving this a 5-star. And as Monty said, for a reason completely different to the Pac and Will Ospreay match. It was the determination, it was the effort, and it was just sort of the the teamwork that they both put in to kind of like create such an atmosphere that actually had a lot of the audience, the live audience, really like rooting behind them. They were just as loud as they were in the previous match, and it really just, as a TV viewer, then just continues to elevate the excitement that they had for this match in particular. There were some really great spots, really great moments, and I think both women put in such excellent effort. So 5-star from me too.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it 4 3/4. Predictions: James and Jaxie went Willow. June and Monty went Chris. That means June and Monty on 8. James and Jaxie on 7. See Ospreay interviewed. He wants Ricochet, and Ricochet wants him. Then we get the Continental title Fatal 4-Way match. Okada, Orange Cassidy, Takeshita, and Mark Briscoe. And Briscoe and Okada paired up while Takeshita and OC went out. It came down to Okada. Big take, but Cassidy took both men down before they could do anything. All 3 challengers came close to win at least once. For Okada hit a Rainmaker on Cassidy to get the pin and the win. And Gina, just in case no one knows, all 3 qualified on Collision, but Okada wanted bitches, and in the end he treated them as such.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, this match was just super random, but it kind of worked still, and that's what made it good. And all the teasing that they did of Takeshita and Okada, it's just a money match in the making. Like, I cannot wait for that match and that one-on-one between these two, because again, like, I'm not exactly the guru of New Japan or anything like that, so obviously Monty can take more and discuss more about their potential their beef in the past with each other on New Japan, and still going, because I know Takeshita went back to Japan to have a couple of matches as well. It's brilliant. It's brilliant in terms of they're already setting seeds for this match to come up, and it's just making everybody be like, we're ready for this match because of what they were showcasing in this tag match, and Mark is just a madman. Seriously, Mark Briscoe, he really is a madman. Like, the way he wrestles is like he really doesn't give a shit about his own safety. But it works because it is just so Mark. I thought the match was really fun. And I felt like, because of the 2 matches that just went by in terms of, Ospreay's match and the Statlander match, I feel like this was a good match to have in between, because even though it was still brilliant and fun, it was also felt a little bit like a cool down after those 2 matches. So I think it was perfectly placed on the match card. I did enjoy it. I'm going to give it a 3 3/4.
3 3/4, excellent. Yeah, Orange Cassidy must be booked for any AEW pay-per-view. And why would the Ring of Honor champion want another title? I
didn't mention him for a week.
Yeah, I know your fault, Gina. I'm sorry.
It's not about the beef, but he's just a bit too over.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
I completely agree. I don't want to talk about, but Jaxie, I want to talk about Okada with you, because obviously I know you're a huge fan. What have your thoughts on him since being in AEW? Is what you expected, or maybe you thought a little bit more?
No, I kind of feel like really happy with kind of what they're doing with him. Like, this sort of asshole run that he's had, like you can really see that he's having a lot of fun with this character, and just being able to like be creatively different than like the sort of like character he had in New Japan. So I'm really enjoying this, and I think it is because I have been watching, especially a lot of the build up towards the end of his run in New Japan, and how different a character he has here in AEW. It's just absolutely amazing, like to see him, like kind of be so expressive. You know, like a lot of people when he first joined did not expect him to be this vocal, and he is, and he's just doing an excellent job. Again, kind of like the Young Bucks, I think even if he didn't have the title, I think that he would be doing excellent work right now. And I think this match really showcased well what he can do, but also kind of like emphasized like his asshole run and his asshole character. Like you said, turning them into bitches. However, I would say like I don't really feel like he made Takeshita look like a little bitch, to be honest. And if anything, like I think this match in itself really was just there to build up the eventual one-on-one match that we'll get between them, and it's going to be gold. It's going to be magic when we get this one-on-one. So like they're doing excellent work, excellent story building, and I think even when he does eventually drop this belt, I think that there is still so much more that they'll be able to do with him, especially when he'll do an eventual face turn at some point, and that will probably be when they kind of insert him into like the world title picture. But right now, I think with what they're doing with him is really great work, and also kind of like warming up Western audiences to like sort of Okada and his type of wrestling and what he can do and what he can bring. So this just showcased him really well.
And what would you score it?
I'm gonna give this I enjoyed this match. I'm gonna give it a 4.25.
4.25. So Monty, a couple of big questions for you. Obviously, I want to know your score about this match, but Gina did ask, is there any history involving Takeshita and Okada? And my question to you, because you're an old head when it comes to New Japan, is Takeshita the closest thing to a young Okada? I mean, the matchup with height, weight, I mean, talent, you can maybe argue, but I wasn't there seeing Okada as a kind of Takeshita. Is there similarities there? And have they got any beef?
The funny thing about this, the Takeshita that Okada probably remembers is a completely different Takeshita than the one you have now. He's grown a lot, and I mean, in the ring and just literally, like he was skinnier. Like you can find clips of many years ago of when Takeshita didn't really work in New Japan. He was in DDT, which is Kenny Omega's old promotion that he was in Japan. Him and Ibushi before they went to New Japan. So Takeshita was the shining star there. So really, this G1 run of this past year was really the longest and the most he's ever done with New Japan, because before the recently. New Japan and other Japanese promotions didn't really work together. You know, All Japan, Noah, and DDT, they didn't all work together the way they've been doing a lot more of post-pandemic. So they don't really have like matches or anything like that. But many years ago, when Takeshita was still younger, skinny, much skinnier, he is not the hunk, the muscle man or guy that he is now. Like, he's turned himself completely around if you just really go back and look at Takeshita. So the funny thing about it is Okada has been kind of like he's like what I would call like a prodigy, and Takeshita was too, but it's just completely different. Like Okada has been chosen. You gotta understand, since 2012 when he returned from excursion, he's been on top of New Japan, basically right next to Tanahashi, and that's just not the same thing that Takeshita had to do. Takeshita kind of had to prove himself and work his way to where he is now, to a completely different level. And now he's kind of one of the best freelancers and just best wrestlers in Japan. But for a long time, he was still kind of building himself up. And I remember that match against Tanahashi in like 2014, I believe it was, or something like that. And Tanahashi was still at the top of his game, and he shook hands with Takeshita and they gave him respect. But, again, he was so far from what he's become. It's almost a completely different wrestler. So I wonder if Okada even remembers that scrawny kid from many years ago that Takeshita was. And when he sees Takeshita now, does he think about that? But these two guys have a lot in common, though, because they have similar mentors in Shinsuke Nakamura, because Shinsuke Nakamura loves him and Takeshita have a really good relationship outside of the ring, even though they don't have much. They haven't really done anything as far as wrestling goes. But like Takeshi's always hanging out when Shinsuke in America, and we all know the history of Okada and Chaos and Shinsuke. So they, it's kind of funny how they kind of run in the same circles, but they haven't really did anything. And I think that's kind of like the thing I'm taking away from what Okada was going through right now with his booking. I think you're 100% spot on, Jackson. As a character, what Okada is doing has been some of the funniest and just best stuff he's ever been allowed to really do. I mean, I always mention he was a heel in Chaos originally, and he was cocky, but it was definitely not presented in this way. I know some people have taken it the wrong way, that he's doing a lot of comedy, but really he's not doing comedy to where he's not taken seriously. He's doing stuff that just so happens to be funny. But I know some people, just since he's being funny, they feel like AEW is watering him down or whatever. But the only thing I will say, as someone who watched a lot of Okada, it will always be weird for me to watch him just pop up in the middle of an AEW show. He's just been the headliner, been the main event for so long. I'm just so not used to him just popping up, getting his match out, and then it's still more of a show. So I have to kind of get used to that as a long-time New Japan viewer. But other than that, I think their presentation of him as a character has been great. And I think really the Takeshita match and then whenever Omega returns are the main things right off the bat that I think anyone who's been paying attention will be waiting on if you're a fan of Okada right now. Because I think if him and Omega gets in the ring and it gets a chance to run that back, and I think that's kind of what they set up with putting him in the Elite. And then, like you guys mentioned, everything they seem to be building up with Okada versus Takeshita. Those can be some huge matches for Okada going forward and for AEW. So, yeah, and as far as this match goes, I thought it was good. I love what everyone brought to the table in this one. But again, like I said, it's always going to be weird for me to just watch Okada defend his belt, and it's not a world title match.
What would you score it?
I'll give it 4.
Yeah, I'll get 3.95. Predictions: we went Okada, Gina Monty on 9, James and Jackson on 8. Got Mercedes Moné versus Hikaru Shida next for the TBS title. Moné tried to take control early, but quickly found herself on the defense. Shida was not holding back and delivered several stiff strikes, including a low drop kick. It also almost knocked Mercedes out of the ring. Julian chants broke out as they began unleashing strikes. Shida almost got herself disqualified with a kendo stick, but decided not to. The moment she last allowed Moné to pounce and hit the moneymaker for the win. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this?
I mean, this was a good match. I feel like it could have been a bit maybe. I feel like if it was maybe a bit longer, then it could have been good, or placed in a different position, then maybe there would have been a bit more hype on that. But I felt like Shida still looked really good against Mercedes. There was like one point where like there was like a dragon screw that Mercedes did that on Shida that I thought potentially was like a real injury, but like thankfully it looked like she kind of just was able to walk it off and stuff. Yeah, she did tease a lot about the sort of like hitting her with the kendo stick, so I wondered kind of where it was going to go. But I don't know. I hate speaking like this, but I just kind of feel like so far this has been quite a lackluster sort of start for Mercedes, and I'm not too sure like what it is that's not like kind of grasping with me, if that makes sense. Because like she's facing great opponents. She had like a really good match against Willow. I also like she had a really good match against Shida that wasn't like this one. I think it was like on a Dynamite or something a few weeks ago. And that was like
before the Brick match.
Yeah, that one. I see. Even Monty knows what match I'm on about, and I felt like still there was that match kind of went hard, and I don't know why, but there wasn't like the same. It wasn't like the same effect. There wasn't as much excitement during this match for me that like kind of felt like it was connecting. I don't want to say it's like either wrestler, because I think Shida puts on a great performance. She's such a talented wrestler, and I love seeing her in a pay-per-view like position. But I don't know why, again, like this connection with Mercedes is not really doing much for me. I don't know if it's the booking or what, but there's like a disconnect for me. So like even though I think this match went okay, it wasn't their best, you know. So I think overall I'm going to give it a 3 3/4 on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to say. I mean, Monty, to say Monet and AEW haven't clicked yet would be right. What the things are behind that, we just don't know at the moment, you know?
Yeah, it's not really clear. I agree. I mean, I feel like so far the opponents have been fine. But it's just always been something attached. Even her presentation on a weekly basis, the segments are what they are, but they're not. I haven't had that. You know, it just seems like they're lacking. Even when we go into regards of like what we were saying about Chris and Willow, or even with Mariah and everything she's been doing with Tony. I think it's just that her stories have paled also in comparison in that regard. I'm not sure exactly what it is either. I think this match was good, but like you mentioned, it wasn't anywhere near, in my opinion, as fun or as good as the Dynamite match. And I thought the Dynamite match also went short. I think the Dynamite match was like 10 minutes. So, like, it's kind of funny that I thought they were booking this match to kind of give us more, or to give us an even better, more competitive version of that. And that's just not what happened here. I'm not really sure what it is either, just like at all, to be honest. I don't know if they gave her, not to say that giving her the TBS belt was wrong, but like, did you give it to her a little bit too fast to the point to where now we're having a hard time believing any woman that really challenges you for a while is because we know you're going to probably run with the belt a while. We don't really have, you know what I mean? Like, do we think anybody's going to take it yet? Like, should they have waited and
I
just
feel
let
like
her
they put
get
it on her
big matches under her belt first? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like should they have waited? You know, that's an interesting kind of thought process I've been thinking about. Also, to me, I didn't really think about this until now, but like even with the Monet Maker, I like it as a move. I just don't know if she should be doing it, because sometimes it lacks the impact that I think that she's trying to really to give her. And I don't know if it's because she's not strong enough to kind of do it to everyone. But some people it looks good, and so sometimes it looks tough. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I think again the match itself fine. I love both wrestlers. And if they are, I think this match would have been 10 times more interesting if they went on ahead and possibly not necessarily got a DQ, but pull the trigger and let Sheeta show a mean streak. Maybe that's something that we needed, like something to really latch on to outside of just this match. Because I think just on its face value, I think we all kind of figured how this match would go, and I think that kind of hurt it too. And the placement on the card didn't really help. It just felt like another match, another title defense, and I think Sheeta I think based on what we look at Sheeta, we would expect better. And I think even with Mercedes, I'm just wondering, like, even from this point here, like, whoever's next, are we going to get a nice angle wrapped around it, or is it just going to be another defense?
What would you score it?
3 3/4 is probably right. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is what we're seeing. Some are comparing like the outfit Mercedes wore to Zelina Vega and kind of making comparisons. So I think, there's a lot of people on Twitter that aren't happy. Maybe Monet is in AEW, and, the kind of, maybe some people are seeing it as like a rip-off kind of CEO character. It's a difficult one, isn't it, Gina? Because again, there's no doubt that there's talent there, but if the crowd aren't behind it either, then it's kind of a little bit awkward, as we saw at All In.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be one of the things that I pointed out, is that the crowd went quite quiet during this match, and I think, like, it was rightly so. I think, just as my sister pointed out, for me, I more remember the match that Monet and Sheeta had on Dynamite than I do over the All Out match. And I do agree. I do think they put the belt on her more because of, her status, her name, who she is. rather than actually develop a really deep feud with the current TBS champion, Anne Monet, so that she can, solidify herself into the company and then finally win that belt and then just get the rest of the crowd behind her. But I think that's why she's had to take a heelish type character turn, because a lot of people felt like she was just handed the belt for her status, and don't get me wrong, I love both Monet and Shida, but it's just not been a great start for Monet, and I do feel like maybe given time, she'll settle in more, she'll get more of a backing from the crowd. But at the moment, I don't think it works when they try and build a feud over 2 weeks. I think that's the issue here. There wasn't anything built beforehand. It was just a quick, right, Britt's done. Who are we going to put in next? Shida, because she's, a great veteran of AEW, and that'll be another thing that we can put behind Mercedes' belt. The thing is, we know that Mercedes probably could beat Shida given a good match, but it's just you didn't build up anything for it, and I just don't think it works when you have a short build up of a feud like this.
And I wonder too, no Brit. Did you guys think that was weird too? Just no mention of Brit at all. Because I just feel
it's just they forgot her.
Yeah, it's just very weird how do you move on, and I think that kind of hurts it too. It makes this feel more rushed, like you just mentioned. If you see what I'm saying.
And again, also, sorry, just again, before Gina scores it, again, adding from what Monty just said, it also kind of continues to kind of flatten on some veterans that have really done some excellent work for the women's division, like both Britt and Shida. Britt got a clean pin for her return that really just kind of felt a little bit flat, and it felt like really just kind of I'm still questioning why there was a clean pin there, especially with Mercedes Hill persona right now. That was the best time to actually have interference, but also then mixed in with the whole no save from Jamie Hayter, sort of mixing that in and having Jamie Hayter on the pre-show Wembley still baffles me, and then kind of going into this match again, similar vibes. No mention of Britt or anything, just kind of felt flat.
Gina, Scott?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. And the same thing with Britt. If you were going to have her come back just to lose cleanly like that, if anything, I would have thought that Britt would have been the one to come back and take the belt from Mercedes. So that's what made it even more shocking, But I'm going to give the match 3 3/4 as well. I enjoyed seeing them both, but I know that they can both put on better matches than that.
Yeah, I go 3 3/4. Predictions, we all went Monet, so it means Gina Monty on 10, James Jackson on 9. We get Bryan Danielson versus Jack Perry for the world title. In the American Dragon side, it was time to teach his young opponent a lesson, so he got in the driver's seat and started punishing the scapegoat. It did it from the apron to the floor, reverse momentum. Several times tried to be cocky, and Danielson made him regret it every time. The ref ended up being taken out, so the Bucks ran down and attacked Danielson with a TK driver. Claudio and to chase him away. Eventually, Perry hit a running knee but failed to get the pin. He pissed Dragon off with a few disrespectful slaps, so Danielson turned him inside out with a Psycho knee for a close 2 count. Perry got his arms up, seemed to accept his fate as Danielson drilled him with one more knee for the win. But that wasn't it. Kill Switch ended up taking out Danielson and had a brief moment with his former tag team partner before Christian Cage arrived to cash in his title shot. John Moxley appeared out of nowhere and stood in his way. Pac and the rest of the BCC showed up and Cage backed off. Claudia ended up taking out Danielson and Pac held Utah back as Moxley put a plastic bag over Danielson's head to suffocate him. The crowd chanted, "This is murder," as Utah cried while being held back. The doctors attended to Danielson as everybody but Utah left. Now, a lot to unpack there, Monty. I mean, there was a match before the attempted murder, but I mean, what were your thoughts?
It was.
Apparently so. This was about Jack Perry.
Way to overshadow your title match, man. But yeah, man, the match, I thought it was good. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought Jack Perry did a good job in this spot. I think this is more so kind of, just kind of highlighting that if he's not there yet, he's right there on the doorstep, at least in their eyes, of being in the main event picture going forward. Yeah, man, I didn't have a problem. with it overall. I thought the match was fine. I didn't think it was the best anything, but I don't think it was bad either. I saw some people trashing it and saying this was a lull for them, but honestly, I thought Danielson did really good, and I think it maybe it was a little lengthy, and the stuff at the end with the whole kind of like just sitting there and taking the last knee. It's just a funny visual. I understood why they did it, but when you watch it and you see him sitting there, it's like something like this is wrestling, guys. That's what I look at stuff like that, because it's just like in what world would you do that? But it's fine. I got it. I get it. I thought the match was good, but yeah, the stuff after the match, I didn't know what to make of it at the time. I thought it was the betrayal or whatever. Fine. I don't mind it as such, and I do love the conflicting with having Wheeler obviously not being a part of it or being told about it. That this is what they were going to do, kind of looking like a conflicted son in the middle, watching one parent kill the other one, or like half kill the other one, or whatever. Like, yeah, I love that element of it, but other than that, it was just, yeah, man, it was just confusing, but just very, very. I don't want to say I wasn't compelled, because I kept watching, but it was one of them situations where it was just like, I don't know what to make of this. Like, it's good, but like it's fine, but I don't know what do you do with this. Like, Moxley just put a plastic bag over Darius's head, and they didn't explain anything. It didn't really give us. They were just as confused as us, I felt like. So in the moment, I was just like, yeah, okay, Moxley just tried to kill Darius. All right, I just it really was what it was. Like, but it was one of the moments where it's like, I don't know, it is like a moment. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you probably, I don't know if you could, but like, we'll talk about this in a minute because of what this show ended up being. But like, in the grand scheme of things, this became one of those things you remember. Like, you may, all right, Ospreay, Pop, yeah. Willow and Chris killed each other, yeah. And then one of the last two things you remember, the main event, and Danielson was getting suffocated by Moxley. That's it. So I give him credit for that. Like, it's memorable, but why, or did we need it? Probably not.
What would you score the actual match before?
Oh yeah, it was a match, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. 4.25. Good stuff.
Right. So let's get on to it. So one of my things, right, and again, I'm no prude when it comes to certain things. Especially in wrestling, because you see a lot of stuff. But my theory to it, I've seen a lot, but my theory has always been to use stuff that if you're, because the whole thing of kids, if you're, don't try this at home, then you shouldn't use stuff that are easily accessible. So when I was a young lad, to see a ladder, right, or a chair, or a table, or like something, but you're going, how do I get that? But when it's a bag, I'm worried about the 5-year-old kids grabbing a plastic bag and suffocating their dad, because that's what Moxley did to Danielson. Like, again, it just freaks me out where and again, we're going to get onto it, even with Brooks, where just, they're quite easy to get hold of if you want. And it's just that visual of the bag. I mean, it's hilarious, because I was like, how far are they going to go? Like, I literally is Danielson really leaving? Like, but I don't know. The match was all right, but again, Gina, it was just that kind of. It's AEW. Just, I don't know what it is, man. Like I said, it was a moment, but it was just like only AEW could do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, breaking it down from me, I was like, this match is really great. It's showcasing Jack Perry a lot. It's showing that he can keep up with the top dogs, and it's kind of elevating him. It's great. Totally overshadowed by that ending. Like Monty said, there was no explanation. So I'm like, Mox, did he send you a shitty text, or what did he do to you? Like, why are you doing this to him? Are you jealous? Like, I don't get it. Like, Mox hasn't been around in the BCC for a couple of weeks, so we've just seen Danielson with both Claudio and Wheeler going around and doing stuff. So to see this, it just came out of left field. again, like you said, any kid could look at that and be like, oh, Bryan Danielson didn't die from having a bag over his head. Let me do that to my little brother. Next thing you know, the mum walks in, the youngest brother's being choked out with a plastic bag, you know, like it's a bit crazy. And like, there are like, you know, people out there saying, was it too far? Was it too much? You know, like, again, what can we say is too far and too much when people are getting a simpler stapler and stapling pictures to each other's foreheads in matches, and then now we've got plastic bags being dragged in and choking people out. You know, I get it. Like, AEW want to show that they are ruthless. They're happy to have this sort of brutality showcased on their screen. But when would you say is it too much? You know, when you get
someone,
report that a child is called his younger brother, that they're like, maybe
when they start using guns in wrestling. I think the next time, again, we're going to talk about the main event, but I think that's the next step, with them chasing each other with guns like it's some kind of crazy 90s action movie or something like that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it. I thought the match was great in itself, but I feel like it also got overshadowed quite a bit by the ending of the match and what happened after. So yeah, I'm going to give the match like 3.95. I thought it was great, but I do feel like Jack Perry's win was kind of overshadowed by what happened at the end.
Yeah, the attempted murder kind of took the shine off. And again, I mean, Jaxie, what's even worse is that they had JR join commentary. And I hope they told him, because again, JR's like, is this wrestling now in the 2020s, goddammit?
Yeah. I mean, you guys brought out a lot of valid points. I'm just going to put it out there right now. Like, you know, even if they were going to go through with this, like, sort of like turn on Bryan Danielson, I didn't like it. I think the thing that made it worse is that, you know, throughout this whole match, you actually, you know, were showing Danielson's kids there right in the front, and then you go ahead and you do something as deplorable as that. I couldn't even keep watching until like the bag like was taken over his head, because it, as you said, it was like attempted murder. Like, I couldn't actually. It was really hard to stomach that sort of thing. That's not wrestling. That is just attempted murder, you know. And when is it like too much? Like, I'm expecting that Brie took the kids out of there like as soon as the match was over, like knowing something was gonna go down. But if I was Brie, I really would have felt like this was a bit too extreme with the way that they went about this betrayal.
Well, you won't. Claudio would have bagged Brie as well. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God! Don't even don't just stop. But also, I just. You know, regardless as to who you are as a person or what connection you have, are you telling me there was no one in the back that saw this and actually wanted to come to Danielson's aid, watching a poor young child like Utah being held back? Like, do you know what I mean? There was no one that thought, oh no, this is you know, going too far. We'll intervene. No, none of that.
No,
you know,
fuck him.
Yeah, I think that obviously there is something that they clearly wanted to. There is something they clearly wanted to be telling with this story, but I don't think this was the right way, and I just didn't really like it how they did it. I thought it was a little bit distasteful, and they still could have had that shock factor without the plastic bag. So yeah. So it is what it is. I'm going to give the match in itself at 3 3/4, because again, I feel like it did what it needed to do. But sadly, I do feel like what happened straight after really overshadowed the match. So I can't give it any higher, because of like the only thing I'm really taking away from it is what happened after and not the match itself.
Yeah, I mean, like you talk about, I was going to give it 4 1/4. There was a moment the referee gave Perry an obvious signal to kick out, which you'd never have seen. But again, apart from that, I thought the match was good. Like I said, the main issues afterwards. And has anybody had a bigger drop-off than Bryan Danielson, From one pay-per-view to another. You know, all in, closing out the show.
Greatest moment ever.
Song, world champion, next pay-per-view, fucking nearly suffocated to death, you know? Like, if it was Star Wars, this was definitely Empire, if you know what I'm saying. Prediction.
I saw people mentioning that it was a ties to Danielson's worldview about that's why they use plastic. But I'm like, well, hell, nobody told the crowd. Nobody told us that. We just watching them get killed. Like, Like you got if it really is something like that, commentary has to explain it. Like we know Danielson hates plastic. I don't know, like tell us that then or something. I don't know because it just like you said, it just looked like attempted murder without context. I mean, it's still attempted murder.
Well, even Jurassic Express being together in the same ring, it didn't really matter because of what happened.
Yeah, nobody.
Afterwards, you know?
Right? Who cares?
You know?
Oh, they stared down. Yay!
Well,
and then
like
murder.
Yeah. Well, fans, if you didn't like that murder, we'll try this one because this one isn't sanctioned. All right, that was a sanctioned murder. This is unsanctioned. The main event, lights out cage match: Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland. Swerve didn't want to wait for the cage to come down to attack. He tried to trap Page's head on the apron so the cage would crush it. You know how you start matches. But Nana broke them up, so Swerve
That's so crazy, that part. That was so crazy. Wasn't it Prince Nana that was like, for fuck's sake, I'm pushing both in the ring. Like, I'm not having you both kill each other. I'm like, I was literally like, Ref, are you going to do anything? And it was Nana that was like, for fuck's sake, guys, get in the ring. Oh my gosh, sorry. I just had to say that.
By the time the cage was down, Nana had put a table and several weapons in it. Both men were stuck with several staples, calling back to their previous encounters. From this point forward, traditional wrestling maneuvers were few and far between. This became a bloody war of attrition that tested the pain tolerance of both performers and those in the crowd as well. They did so many violent things to each other that it would actually be hard to list them. You know, this is kind of another match that needs to be seen to be understood, because if I try to recap this, you just wouldn't believe me. In one of the oddest moments we've ever seen, Page pushed a syringe into Swerve's mouth before breaking a chair on his head.
Come on.
Yeah. The ref declared a KO win for Page, and the doctors rushed in to check Strickland. Gina, I mean, again, even afterwards, and the fans caught it, was Page walking away and still trying to go down that babyface tunnel before realising, no, he is a true heel now. And that wasn't even on TV. What we got as the main event was just, I mean, these two guys, it's just the most gruesome shit ever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was watching this match, stood up, sat down, cowering with my arms around my knees. I could not stay still watching this match. I didn't know what was going to happen. Part of me thought that I was about to witness a true murder on screen. There was just so much with this match. Again, our comments are not going to do it justice. If you've got a strong stomach, go and watch it yourself. If you don't, maybe watch a YouTube clip of it.
Go and watch it. Go on, do it. It's fine.
Throw it there. You can do it. But no, the match, it was just insane. I don't know. So for me, I was pushing for Swerve to get that win because I felt like he needed to get the, you burned my house down, I'm going to kick your ass in this fight. But that's not what we got, and it was just insane. The syringe thing, who thought of that? Seriously, who thought of that? Maybe one of them went to the dentist earlier that day and said, oh, we could add this into the match. But yeah, it was just crazy. I can't say necessarily whether I liked it more than like the Texas death match that we had, but it was definitely brutal, and it was definitely one that you kind of couldn't take your eyes from, even if you wanted to, just to save them. Yeah, the one thing I will take from this is that it's not over between these two, and I don't think it ever will be. And again, I'm still waiting to hear if Hangman's going to pay for the mortgage.
Yeah, what would you try and attempt to score this?
My God. I mean, it was very entertaining. Do you know what? I'm going to give this one 4 3/4 because it was very entertaining. If it would have won, I would have given it 5. But I'm going to give it 4 3/4.
Swerve's gear had an image of Page burning his house down. If you look closely, you can see Swerve make it so Page could rip his grill out. Well, that makes things so much better. What's even worrying, Jaxie, was that the crowd wanted fire. I told you this is going to end with guns. There's only a few. How else can this feud finish?
I mean, after the syringe moment, I really did wonder if there was going to be any other unique type of weapons that we had not ever thought about before going to be, entertained into this match. It could not get any more brutal. To be honest, I have to agree. I was watching this threw my hands, stood up, sat down on the edge of my seat. It was a hard match to watch, but you couldn't take your eyes away from the screen because the animosity and the hatred between these two men will not go away. And I don't think it ever will. I mean, I think Swerve wearing, a whole outfit based on Hangman burning down his house really just tells you all about, the way that he was, like the mentality of what he was going through before entering this match. And if it hadn't ended the way it was going to end with one of them actually probably being taken out in a body bag. This was completely shocking. Again, my sister pointed it out that I thought that this was going to be Swerve picking up the win and getting that retribution for that house, but no, this is definitely not over. Hopefully Swerve can have a well-deserved break, recuperate. He's been through a lot in the past couple of months, and then probably once he's back, we will see round 6, 7 continue. So I do think that we could potentially getting an even darker Swerve coming back into this, and this is what Hangman would have pushed him to as well. Just like how Swerve had pushed like Hangman to this darkness, to do what he's done to this madness. I think Hangman's done the same now to Swerve, and I think we're going to actually see a very different Swerve when he comes back. It's not going to be the same cool, calm, and collected. This is going to be a crazier persona of Swerve. So I'm intrigued to see where things go from here, and sending him my well wishes. Again, I think this was a good match overall. It's really hard to score it, to be honest, because they did try and kill each other. So I'm going to go with 4 3/4 as well.
Yeah, 4 3/4. I mean, Monty, like we said, this was just next level stuff, and it just... Is there a case of it being too much, though? I mean, because we didn't even mention, like, the breeze block, and you see the mark on, like, Page, and then the bump Swerve took, and it's like, these are, again, I know it's like a snippet, but, like, career-shortening matches.
It is definitely a case. I think the thing is, if you're not into this type of wrestling, you're gonna hate this match. And like, I think it was, we, like you mentioned, the fact that a match where I think Swerve or Hangman, whichever one, when they spit the blood in the air, they were literally spitting each other's blood in the air at each other in the death match before, that didn't have anything to do with this. And this match was way more violent to me than that match was. So whenever you kind of one up yourself in that regard, like you mentioned, James, it's too much because, like you just said, you can make the case that it's too much because, like you said, it's like, all right, if this is not it, and this is why I'm saying I kind of disagree with you guys. I'm not saying Swerve won't return and they won't fight again, but I just think if they're smart, they space that out completely as much as they can, because how much further can you go immediately while this is still fresh in our brains? Just in my opinion, because like you said, they were like cinder blocks, the syringes. They pulled out almost everything you could possibly do in a caged setting, without, like you mentioned, just going straight over the edge. And I can understand it, and I also think if some AEW fans, I get it. Like, they like the rebellion. They love. Some people are saying, like, I think Tony Khan tweeted out in the past, like, AEW is for the sickos. So I saw a lot of that when this match happened, just pointing out and saying, and you'd have to agree that this is definitely some sick stuff that happened in this match. But I also think if you ever want that your fan base to grow into the publicly traded company type status that a WWE would have, or to where they're in everyone's household, their household name to the extent that WWE is. Could you do that and still be like, we all love ECW? It's legendary, but ECW was never pulling the numbers that WCW or WWE was pulling because of stuff like that, the violence and the vulgarity, the explicitness of the stuff that they were trying to pull off. So it is a question to be asked: can you get as big as you could possibly get with sponsorships and with all types of other stuff? Can you grow with this being part of your brand? I don't think it's limiting them either, but mostly because even with the stuff with Danielson can be kind of thought of in that same light. Like, all right, if you're a corporate sponsor and you're watching some of this, or you realize certain sponsors are immediately turning away, right? You know what I mean? Like some people are immediately don't want anything to do with it.
Well, it's like the pizza cutter all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, with the pizza cutter, like as cool as that is in the moment, how many people that are tailored to kids or something like you mentioned earlier, John, how many people are going to want that to be what their kids are watching? And then when you have WWE, some people can say it's watered down or it's too kid-friendly or whatever they want to say. At the end of the day, that's why they get the viewership they get, because they kind of can blend and be for adults and they can be for the entire family without it, going over that line too much. But again, I'm not one of those guys who hate it in this context, mostly because it was murder with context. And like you mentioned, like we just kind of talked about that last segment with Danielson, and the biggest issue with it is Danielson was getting suffocated by a friend, and yes, it's betrayal. We get that part, but betrayal, just them jumping him after the match would have been enough for us to feel the emotions you need to feel of betrayal. So why does he have to be murdered or attempted murder on television, on our screen, to get that point across? And I think that's the thing. At least in this context, we know he just burnt the house. And another thing, I'm one of the same guy. I know some people don't feel this way now, but everything Hangman is doing, even in this match, if you go all the way back, some people seem to forget because how much they love to dance to Swerve's song. Swerve took it over the line first when he was in his household and talking to his family that way and all of that type of stuff that Swerve was able to get away with as a heel. So if you think about the psychological perspective of it, I really liked how this turned out from that perspective, because it's violent, it's horrible, it's terrible, it's all of that. But in the context of the story that we have going on, I honestly don't know if they went in there and they just started doing regular wrestling maneuvers, we all would hate this match because you burned my house down. Why am I sunset flipping? And you know what I mean? Why am I doing that type of stuff? So yeah, I expected a war. Did I expect them to go as far as they went? No, but I'm not mad at it, because I think once you start burning houses, once you start, breaking and entering and stuff like that, it's like they only can do it. They can only go further. So yeah, man, I loved it from a Hangman perspective too, getting the victory. The only reason why I went with the perspective of giving Hangman this victory is because I just thought that everything that he's done to change and evolve, and like what he's done, the monster he has became, he has to win, or it's pointless in my opinion. He has to put Swerve down at least once, because Swerve has kind of, even with the burnt down house, Swerve won the original feud. We all remember that. Swerve won the title. So at some point, Hangman was going to have to get his lick back. And even though it went, the syringe thing is probably the worst thing. The thing I didn't want to see is like, oh, okay, why are we doing this? But in the context of it all, I'll let it slide, because I understand this is hatred. And I gave it 5 stars.
I'm going to give it 4 3/4. Predictions, well, like we talk about, Monty went Hangman, the rest went Swerve. So it means that James and Jaxie with Gina. No, sorry, James Jackson 10, Gina on 11, Monty on 12. So another perfect score, Monty. I mean, wow, man, you are on fire at the moment, man. You're on fire, baby.
Oh man, I'm like Swerve's house.
Well, the Double Up Prediction League, after All Out, bonus league, Monty on 23, Gina on 15, James on 14, Jaxie on 9. AEW, James, Jaxie, and Monty on 3, Gina on 2. So, final thoughts then. Yeah, I thought the pay-per-view popped along well, but still a couple of matches aren't needed. And I think the opener maybe was a little bit self-indulgent. So, Jaxie, why don't you start us off then? Your match of the night, I assume, between Willow and Chris and Pac and Ospreay.
Yeah, I am actually going to give the match of the night to Pac and Ospreay. I still think that was probably my favorite out of the two that I scored 5 star. and I'm actually going to give my MVP to Hangman. He did everything that he has like told Swerve he was going to do, and then some. So he proved it tonight. And that was just a brutal way to sort of end All Out. I think I agree. I think that there were parts that really were maybe unnecessary for All Out. And I think that like sort of the beginning pre-show was a bit dragged out for my liking. So overall, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I don't think that that's actually bad. I think that the matches were good, and I think that a lot of stories were told that leaves you wanting to kind of put on the next few Dynamites and stuff. But yeah, I think 8 out of 10 would be fine.
Yeah, perfect. Gina, so same 3 to you then. What's your match MVP and rating?
Yeah, I'm gonna go the Osprey Pack match for my favorite match. I'm gonna give MVP to Statlander because I feel like I feel like both women smashed it, but Stat gave me the win. And rating, what is it, out of 10? Sorry, or 5?
Yeah, out of 10. You've only been doing
10.
3.
Do you know what? I am going to rate this one quite high because there was a lot of the matches that actually just had me shocked. So I'm going to give it a 9 and a quarter.
9 and a quarter. And Monty, same to you.
Yeah, I think from a wrestling perspective, I probably have to give it 9.5. But like from a full-time show and just enjoyment of watching it, I think 8. I think 8.5, 8 3/4 is probably where I settled it. I think I gave a lot of the matches high ratings because, like I said, the wrestling was some of the best that you could get. But at the same time, it was definitely parts of the show that I wasn't really into. MVP for me is definitely, match of the night for me. As much as I love the violence at the end, and as much as I can appreciate Osprey and Osprey and Pac, I knew what Osprey and Pac could do. That one didn't really blow me out of the water so much. The violence at the end, I expected it. I did not know that the ladies were going to absolutely try to kill each other too, at least to that extent. I knew that it was a stipulation match, but I think more so the reason why I give them the edge over the other 2 matches to me is because it's just my expectations coming into it was shattered. And I just love those 2. I think, like you mentioned Willow, but even Statlander, if you want to give her another title run as a heel down the line, I'm not opposed to it because both ladies deserve to be at the top of the card, TBS or women's champion or however you want to do it. And I think my MVP definitely has to go with Hangman. Hangman had everyone so triggered at the end when he walked back towards the ring. You could hear people in that crowd screaming, like, please, no more. Please don't do anything else to him. And that's how terrified he has people at this point. And I'm beyond, he is by far, like you mentioned, I'm glad you asked me this earlier, because he's by far my most intriguing character. If I'm tuning into AEW, I'm tuning in to AEW right now to really look at Hangman's segments. He's by far the one that I'm looking forward to. I want his hit list. I want to know who's all on it. I want him to take out everybody he can, and I want him back on top of the mountain, to be honest, because that's just how interesting and how much I'm enjoying Hangman at this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. Match for me will be the main event. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And MVP, I'm going to give it Jack Perry because no one else. He's a trooper. He's a company guy. He is the Drew McIntyre of AEW. Like, no one was talking about Jack Perry, and that's what makes him an MVP. So Dynamite notes on a 95% empty arena. I mean, what the fuck is going on there with that? I have no idea. But we did see Will Ospreay and Carl Fletcher become number 1 contenders to the tag titles for some reason. Win a Casino Gauntlet. I mean, Jaxie, what's this about? Jaxie, they're not just a tag division supposed to be about,
again,
but like the attendance issue as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was quite shocking, to be honest, especially sort of being like the Dynamite after. I don't really know what was going on there, whether or not it was bad marketing or what, but just, yeah, very, very shocking to see, to be honest. But again, I feel like this goes back to what Monty originally brought up when we were discussing the tag division earlier. It's like, as much as I think that this is good for someone like Kyle Fletcher, Like, this is not only giving him relevancy, but also giving him a chance to be showcased. But why put Will in this position with doing stuff to do with the tag division? He's a champion in his own right. He's got stories that he's building up to with like Ricochet and stuff. I just don't really understand it. Like, why are you using like other title people in these opportunity moments? It's just a bit baffling, to be honest. It really is, especially when like you've got like, Carl Fletcher is already part of like this group with Takeshita still. You even like had opportunity like for those two to go with it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what creative are doing.
Yeah, no, I've no idea. On Collision, FTR beat Grizzled Young Vets, and Monty looks like the highest Grizzled Young Vets might get in AEW is that appearance at Wembley, which is a little bit sad.
And I'm wondering, because since they couldn't win it because they decided to brawl with FTR and say screw the titles, I'm really wondering, was that all that whole attack spot they got at Wembley, was that just to pop you guys? Because honestly, like, they don't feel like they're gonna be next in line. I understand the Young Bucks are heels, but it feels very, very pointless. And then, like you said, they don't win here, so you don't feel like they're over FTR right now in standing. It's just the tag division right now is the biggest point of contention, in my opinion. It's funny how the women's division was rough, and we still kind of have issues in the women's division, but I feel like they've done a great job. They've been carrying a boatload of AEW, in my opinion, with quality, in my opinion, with matches and stories. So it's been good to improve that. But as soon as you improve the women, now we go to another division that seems to just don't get as much care or just, I don't know, like we mentioned, like you just said, the gauntlet match is a great sign. It's just we're really suffering. Hopefully Kyle Fletcher, Aussie Open, and Kyle can return. Like maybe when Kyle Fletcher's original tag team partner gets his health together, they could be like something. But he's been hurt for so long. I don't know what the timetable is about that.
Did he get suffocated?
Like what happened to Mark? Like, he's been hurt for so long. It's like, and we still have no clarification. And that's something else I have a problem with, just typical, just general with AEW. People get injured, and I find out because I watch an interview from said person 3 months later or something like let us know. Like, update us on certain people. Even with, like I said, with the Britt Baker stuff, we don't know. She could have re-aggravated something in the Mercedes match. We have no clue. It'd be nice if we got updates sometime.
Yeah, well, they've announced Britt back, I think, in a couple of weeks' time.
The anniversary show should be back.
Yeah. But again, as we spoke about as well a little bit earlier, it looks like the women's division might heat up a little bit with Mina. So, Gina, that can only be a good thing, can't it, like we talk about?
Yeah, although I don't know whether they're indicating that Mina is ignoring Mariah May because they are going to build up a feud. But if anything, I kind of want them to be back as besties. I like Mariah May and Mina as besties. I think they got such good chemistry, and I kind of want to join them. I want to be like their third fellow member. So I in a way don't. I really hope that they don't do an angle where Mina and Mariah fight, because I actually think it would be better to have Mina in Mariah's corner. They could even push it as far as even if none of them held belts, they've got that aspect of having, Mercedes Moné versus Mariah with Mina in the background and Mercedes right-hand girl. I can't remember her name. But yeah, I just feel like... Yeah, there are so many different angles that they can do with it. So I really hope if Mina does come back, she's coming back to be a bestie for Mariah.
Yeah, without a doubt. On Dynamite, OC beat Jericho in a match no one wanted. We got technical issues with Nigel video.
Went so long, by the way.
It really pours, though, doesn't it? And the technical issues and stuff like that with AEW, they're getting everything at this moment in time. I love Nigel. The main event of Dynamite saw Okada, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson lose to Fletcher Ospreay and Takeshita. Other news, Rampage may be cancelled. Great. If the rumors are true about their TV deal, they might get another show with Fox. But Rampage, I think only the hardcores really watch it. And then again, with AEW, we are building up towards Wrestle Dream, where I think no matches have been announced, but they have announced of course, Grand Slam, which will happen this coming Wednesday. We've got Jeff Jarrett versus Hangman Adam Page in a lumberjack strap match. Mariah May versus Yuki Sakazaki. Pac and Blackpool Combat Club versus whoever. Okada versus Sammy Guevara. The Young Bucks versus Fletcher and Will Ospreay. Moxley versus Darby Allin, with the winner facing Danielson or Nigel McGuinness at Wrestle Dream, because of course we are getting Nigel versus Bryan, which is the money match. And we have found out that a week later we will be getting Ricochet versus Will Ospreay. So Jaxie, I mean, we'll wrap this up now, but again, exciting times maybe ahead. We know Ricochet and Ospreay is going to be good, but Grand Slam again has only sold, I think, about 4,000 seats compared to obviously 20,000 maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But what are your expectations for AEW coming up in Grand Slam?
I mean, I don't know. They got to kind of pull themselves together a bit. It's not even about like bringing surprise or like, you know, anything like that to it now. They just got to kind of tidy themselves up a little bit. Again, you know, we've kind of pointed out some of the like more recent faults, like that or fault decisions that they're making in terms of like the tag division and whatnot. So I'm hoping that, you know, they'll kind of start trying to tidy things up in that aspect, even when it comes to audio and everything like that. Again, you can't really get excited about Wrestle Dream when they've not announced anything on it, because so far, like right now, they're just really interested in bigging up a sort of Grand Slam. So I kind of don't know what to expect going into Wrestle Dream, but I'd like to think that, like, you know, there can only be maybe positivity that will come from it. I just hope that they're kind of listening and will, yeah, it will improve. You know, you've
always been a positive one. You know, that's what we can say.
Yeah. Sure.
Monty, you know how to wrap up. You know, you do it for NXT all the time. But with AEW, again, there are issues, some of them glaring, that you just wonder how long is it going to take for them to actually fix, you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think if there's one thing I'm really confident in with AEW is that the wrestlers are going to go out there and perform to the best of their ability and put on some of the best matches you can see. And I think that's the thing that they at least couldn't hang their hat on. But from a week-to-week standpoint, and when it comes to attendance, I'm a guy who's over here in America, and I see the way they decide to promote their dynamites, and they have to, in my opinion, you have to do a better job of promoting what's going to be on your dynamite. Finding out what's going to be on a dynamite either the Tuesday evening before a show, or finding out who's going to be up here literally on Wednesday. Of course, in certain areas you're not popular in, you're not going to get the attendance you think if people don't know who's going to be there. Or I know they have names and they may expect people to show up because of the day. You can expect to see Mercedes, or you can expect to see this person, that person. But even WWE in certain areas, before they show up for a Raw or SmackDown, it's literally it was before they came to Lafayette, where I live in Louisiana. They literally a month before that at the Cajun Dome down here in Louisiana, they were promoting that SmackDown will be in here, and it's like a month before that, and they got faces like Roman or someone on. I think Cody was on the poster and all that.
As well.
Like,
yeah,
exactly.
WWE used to do that for their tours in London. Like you have Bret Hart be there, and people are like, oh, Bret, you know, maybe not.
Yeah, exactly. Attract, like, put Brian Danielson's your champion. People know him in America. Promote him, put him up there. Say he's gonna be here. Say the whoever it is that you want to promote. Mercedes and Brian Danielson are great faces to just promote in areas before you show up there. So we won't have some of these shows where you can tell that they only have part of the building full. And they do a good job of trying to make the show still feel like a big deal. But like you said, some of these problems are glaring. And like we mentioned with the tag division and all of that, they just have to put more focus on certain things and tidying them up. I think the reason why we don't have much going into Wrestle Dream right now is because at this point, Tony seems to be booking some of these things a week at a time. And it's not, again, I can't criticize it. I'm not, like, things happen. I get it. But a lot of times, especially when you're trying to get people to buy tickets to something, they don't just buy tickets to even WWE because of name value. You have to let people know ahead of time when you're promoting what's gonna be, what they can expect, because we're in a recession over here in America. Money's tight. People are not just gonna be giving up their money just to show up to a show just because you're AEW. You know what I mean? Like you have to make a kid want to. Oh, hey, that's Cody Rhodes. I want to go see Cody. So let's, I'm gonna tell my mom to go buy tickets. But do that, because that's the type of things that attracts the crowd.
Yeah, but you absolutely. But even TNA are outselling AEW in Texas, And again,
think about
smaller buildings, but again, the local, the way like the Montreal show that they did have PCO and other people doing, feet on the ground, bringing the people into the building that might not know, and they are selling out their shows. And again, it's perspective. It's easy for me to say perspective. If we say, if you look at AEW with these arenas where blacked out and all this kind of stuff compared to a full smaller arena, you're thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on there? So yeah, bang on, Monty. We can speak about it a lot, I know. But Gina, it's your job now to end with positivity. We've spoken about AEW. We've got a lot of stuff coming up that we're looking forward to. Like we talk about Ospreay and Ricochet, and I'm sure Wrestle Dream will deliver, which will be the next time we look at AEW.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we'll end it positively, but I'm just going to point out there that I still haven't heard anything from my man, Ricky Stark, so I'm devastated, but I'm grateful because Mariah May has definitely taken my heart since not seeing Ricky. So now we're in love with Mariah, so we're going to make it the ending of this pod an appreciation to our AEW Women's Champion. Bring back Tina!
Who is British as well, I should say, Monty. I mean, not just not that as, but so that is it.
Glamorous.
Yes, without a doubt. We're across all social media: Twitter at the WNR Podcast, I'm at the WNR JR, or WNR Pod James, or something like that. Just put WNR James in, I'll show up. I change it weekly, just to keep everybody on their toes. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Jaxie, where can people find you?
Yep, I'm on Twitch, Instagram, and X at Jaxie Scarlett.
And Monty, where I know people can listen to you here now because I've done that. That's me. But where can people find you?
Yeah, at my Monty Pod. Check me out. Working on a few projects. And the thing is about promo, I do such a terrible job of promoting when I do stuff. That's how I know how to tell other people what to do.
Yeah, you see, it's all about that. Gina?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, X, and Twitch at Purple Pain.
We're dubbing also on Facebook and Instagram across all Google platforms. Send us an email at podcast@gmail.com. And YouTube and podcast where we've got latest clips and podcasts at the same time on YouTube as do SoundCloud. On your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, we can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode will be NXT No Mercy, and me and Monty can dissect how the fuck Jaxie did actually get that victory. And of course, like we said, we've got Bad Blood and Wrestle Dream coming up. And from what I hear, I think the girls are going to be celebrating their birthday in the next coming week, so we might delay the G1 review until later in October. But we'll keep you posted. Like I said, we ain't AEW. We will let you know. Until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. I mean, Jaxie, you didn't win, but you showed up. I mean, I got respect that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to forever try. And I think that's the best I can do. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.
We take chances. Some people might take
I'm a
the
risk
easy
taker.
route. We're risk takers, and sometimes they might just I actually can't say Monty is fluking it just because of the consistent nature of it, but Monty, I mean, yeah, it does wind me up.
With the consistent wins, yeah,
it's really fucking annoying.
Yeah. I aim to please, though. I aim to please. If it's not pleasing you guys, it's definitely pleasing me. I told you, I'm still in the G site. My last name begins with a G.
Gina, you are our only hope. You do know that.
I'm going to do my best, because I don't like the fact that my G site has left me and gone to Monty. I need to prove that I've got it back. So I will be back, but I need to listen to your NXT pod next week. because I need to know how I did on that. You told Jax how she did, but I don't even know how I did. So we'll see.
God. Well, let me give you a clue.
I won't be listening next week, guys.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And bye.